Welcome to AUTOMOTOCO. This is the Moto Focus podcast. What's up, everyone? I'm Brad Nemeth. On today's program, my co-host and I, Tyler Rayner, sit down with Seth Rarick. The man he needs no introduction. But in case you don't know, Seth works at the Baker's factory under the sport's undisputed top trainer, Alden Baker. We asked Seth what they've been up to during the COVID-19 shutdown and what Moto fans can expect to see from the final 7 races of the 2020 Monster Energy Supercross series taking place in Salt Lake City, Utah. Now, Seth doesn't race these days, but when he did, he was a top 5 guy in the 250 class of the Canadian National Motocross Series. And if you're one of those two-stroke aficionados, well, you can be proud. Seth did all of that on a KTM SX 250. That's right, Seth has rode a two-stroke at some of the highest levels of any pro in the past 2 decades or so. You'll also be able to tell that Seth and Tyler go way back. So sit back, relax, and enjoy our conversation with Seth Rarick. No fans and all that, but I guess it's just really important for the industry to get back. Jobs, riders, bonuses, sponsors, contracts, like that's huge.
That's huge. Yeah, that's the biggest thing is people just being able to make a living. I really feel for a lot of people. I mean, people or my friends, have been, their livelihoods kind of been taken away from them here for the past little bit. So I really, really feel for them. And just this whole series getting back rolling is amazing. I know everyone's going to be, start getting paid again. So that's great. And, I fortunately have been good throughout the whole situation, but I know there's people that are, a lot less fortunate. So I know it's the biggest thing is everyone's getting back, making a living. And also I'm hearing the last 2 rounds could actually have fans. So that'll be interesting. We'll have to wait and see, I guess.
That would be cool.
Yeah. Cause Utah's about to go green, I believe, because there's like different phases, like there's red, go orange and green, I guess. And Utah supposedly in the next week or so should go green. If that happens, I don't know if they're capping the number of fans. I'm sure they will, but I'm hearing the last 2 rounds, I was told, don't be surprised if fans are allowed. So we'll see, but that would be really cool.
So McElrath was telling us that all the teams have to stay separate. Is that something, does that seem like necessary to you? Or I guess I shouldn't ask necessary. That's kind of putting you in a weird spot, but like, what do you think about all that?
Yeah, I mean, the necessary. I don't think any of that is necessary, but yeah, we all have to stay. I'm not really sure entirely of the rules, but everyone's going to be way far away from each other. Supposedly, there's not even the mechanics area. The mechanic can't even go to the line of the riders. It is really, really going to be strange. I'm interested to see because I won't be there for the first one. Obviously, I'll watch it on TV, but I'm interested to see how it goes. I feel like there's so many rules and stipulations that, the racers, they're there to race and everyone else is there to do a job. I think it might be a little bit I think people are going to be crossing the line, but not meaning to. You know what I mean? Like, I think people might be messing up just from not exactly.
Like you're going to be bouncing between the Husky and the KTM truck, right? So
no, I'm not even allowed to. So I'll just be at Troy Lee. That because the only reason is just because each team has to send a list with who's going, and if you're at another truck but you're not on that team's list, then I'm sure there's repercussions. I don't really know, but so I just happen to be on Troy Lee's list of staff going. So I actually have to stay with him the whole time. Alden's actually coming, I think 10th or 11th. So he'll be at the Husky truck, which has Mosman. So the only rider I'll have over there right now is Mosman. So, so I won't even be able to be with him at the races.
So how are you going to handle that?
It shouldn't really be a big deal, honestly. I know I kind of have the attitude, okay, once you get to the race, they're professionals. I guess not all of them are adults, but they're old enough they have a job to do, So I don't feel I should have to be there to kind of hold their hand at all times, but it would be nice to go check on them or see how it's going, or or if something was to go wrong, you know what I mean? It would be nice to be there, but Yeah, I think that's why I'm on Troy Lee's list, because there's 3 riders there and only 1 on the other truck. So I just kind of went for the numbers, what makes more sense. Yeah, I mean, I'll be obviously in contact with Mosman all the time. So, or I should say outside of that. So
What if something does go wrong? I haven't heard anything about that, like as far as injuries and stuff like that. How are they handling that?
I'm not really too sure. I think that'll be pretty normal. I would like to think anyway, I hope. But the only reason I say that is because out here in California 2 weeks ago, we went to State Fair, which is a public track, and a good friend of mine, Jacob Hayes, was there, and he actually got hurt really, really bad. And we obviously had to call the ambulance and all that procedure is pretty normal. And that's here in California, where it's, I think, more strict than Utah. So I think in case of an injury, I believe everything. I know the Alpine Stars medical team will be there and all that. So hopefully we never have to find out what happens. But if it were to, I think all that protocol is pretty normal.
That was kind of one of the first things I thought of a little bit, like when everything was a lot more locked down and they're talking about coming back early, like maybe at the end of March or whatever, there's kind of rumors or whatever circling around. And I was like, oh, like how would they do that?
Yeah. We actually took, in Florida, or everywhere here in Florida, when the whole lockdown thing first started, we took 2 weeks off the bike entirely. Everyone did. We didn't ride for 2 weeks. And our main reason was, for that. And, God forbid if something did happen, hospitals is the worst place to be at that time. Yeah. So we shut it down just because of that factor. And then we started riding. It was just 1 day a week. And then we slowly picked it up. And then I know back in Florida, everything was opening up quicker. Hospitals were freeing up. California is a little bit different story. But it has gotten better. And now everything's pretty much back out to full swing here. Everywhere but LA. LA is the worst place to be, but we don't go near that city.
Actually looking forward to being able to chat with you while you're there and hear about how like everyone's doing training site, like, cycling or working out or all that.
Yeah, it's gonna be pretty interesting, man. We got a pretty good game plan. Obviously we're racing twice a week. The guys aren't gonna be doing too much. Really, we're just going to try to keep them recovered during the whole time. But I think it'll be pretty cool. It's going to be like I've been saying this kind of like a field trip almost, like field trip with a bunch of your friends. And then the races without fans will be like going to a practice day with everyone there. I think it'll be a cool dynamic, I think.
It's kind of like your own little private setup for like all your buddies to ride around.
Yeah, exactly. And the biggest thing, I'm just stoked that we're able to go racing, and obviously that I know that the teams and sponsors can honor their contracts and people can get paid, because that was the scariest thing for me. Just seeing a lot of my friends kind of go without the past couple of months, it wasn't that cool. I know a lot of people are in a much worse situation, so we should all be thankful. But yeah, I think it's great that we're able to get back out there. And I know Feld's actually losing a lot of money on this deal, so props to them for sticking it out and getting everyone out there.
Yeah, absolutely. You said you were in Florida when this all happened. I was in Florida too. It was kind of a hassle actually to get back from Florida to Buffalo. Nobody really knew what was going on at the time. Everyone was scared getting on the plane and whatnot. So what was your most like weird experience during this entire situation?
Well, actually, when Indy got canceled, that was the first race to get canceled. I was in Florida, but I was actually supposed to go from Indy to California. I was supposed to come back out here. And at that time, Indy got canceled, but we didn't know what was coming next. None of the states were locked down yet or anything like that. So I actually still got on the flight and came to California, which would have been Monday after that weekend of what would have been Indy, but it ended up being an off weekend. I flew out here, or I'm sorry, it was Sunday. So yeah, right after Indy. But either way, I came out to California, and that's when everything hit the fan with like this whole virus thing getting serious. And I think California was the first or second state to go on lockdown. So I was here during all that. And that was the weirdest thing, because I didn't really know anything about this virus. I wasn't taking it serious at all. People were kind of freaking out. It was almost like Armageddon sort of sort of
It
thing?
had that feeling. I was gonna like, man. Go on.
It did. But for me, that was the only thing that was weird is like that first week in California, when everything did go on lockdown, I booked because I was afraid I couldn't get back to Florida. I booked a flight, got out pretty soon. I think I was here from Monday to Thursday. Those 4 days were really weird. But then I got back to Florida, and Florida was way more lenient with the rules and regulations, and people were, not that stressed about it. And I got back to Florida.
There's a whole different thing going on in Florida.
Yeah, and it wasn't that bad. And then slowly things did get locked down there. But for me, I never noticed it because I'm not from Florida. I don't know many people there. I don't do much outside of work. So for me, it didn't really affect me. So to be honest with you, this whole time, the only weird instance or experience I had was the very first week. After that, it was almost business as usual. For me, nothing really changed. And as times rolled on, I've taken this whole thing less and less serious. In my opinion,
it's hard to know what to do, right?
Yeah. I think at first I took it super serious. I was kind of freaked out if you watch the news, but if you watch CNN, you think, you think everyone's dying. So
there's no happy median anywhere. It's like watch CNN and like be terrified, or watch something else and like it's like everything's fake. It's like, come on, like what's going on? Like, just isn't there some consensus anywhere?
No, exactly. So I just stayed away from the news and kind of. It was in my own little bubble down there in Florida. And for me, it was fine. I'd, just kind of hang out with the friends that I do know down there. And, not a lot changed, honestly. Now, I'm just glad to see everything back up and running. For me, the scariest, which is way scarier than the virus, is small businesses struggling, people struggling with depression from being locked inside or not having a job. I think those are much bigger issues than this stupid virus. So I'm glad to see everyone get back up and rolling.
Where are you staying at down in Florida? You got your own place, or you got some roommates?
No, I'm staying at. Wait, you said in Florida or California?
Both.
Florida, I have my own place. Here, I'm staying at Coop's house.
Sure.
That's why the Wi-Fi is so shitty.
Well, he doesn't spring for the expensive Wi-Fi?
No, dude, the cheapest stuff you can possibly get.
So how do you and Tyler know each other?
Well, I raced in Canada for a while, but I actually met him at was it Jammers?
Yeah,
Tyler?
Jammer days.
Yeah. It was Jammers because I went there.
SOB, I think.
I want to say SOB. Because, I went to Jammers only for a week. I think I literally only stayed there for a week ever, my whole life.
Yeah, and that's literally the week I think I met you with Bob. So I was staying with Bob at the time.
Okay, so it was there. Yeah. So, but you did go to SOB, right?
Yeah, I've been there a couple times. Not to stay, though, but I've been there.
Yeah, so I guess it was Jammers. But then I went to Canada that summer. I think it was later that summer.
Yeah. And Coop was always at Jammers too, and you kind of pop in with him every now and then.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Yeah, we would go there once in a while. Dude, I haven't been there in years.
And then he was ripping the two-stroke up in Canada for a few years there.
Yeah, the good old days.
Yeah. I forgot you did the two-stroke thing up here. Okay.
Yeah, sometimes I forget. I do too.
No, but that was sick. I remember following you back then, and you were doing really well, top 5 guy.
The first year was sick. The first year was really fun, dude. The second year, everything fell apart. Like, it's a bunch of stuff behind the scenes. But yeah, the first year was awesome. I had a blast, man. If every year could be like that, I'd still be racing.
Yeah.
What
was your setup like? How did you? What was the arrangement to come up?
Well, I did in 2013. I went up and did some. I was doing 450 outdoors here. So in 13, just me and my buddy Mike Satilli drove up to do a couple rounds on the East Coast, and I met Josh Snyder, who was involved with the Redemption team at that time, and he asked me if I was coming back the next year. But at that time, I'm like, dude, I honestly didn't know. And then a few months went by, and he sent me like an offer to ride for him, and I mean, I didn't have anything else going on. Like here in the States, like nothing better, you know. But that was when there was a rule change. You could ride the 2-stroke. So at that time, I had a KTM 250 2-stroke at home to do local stuff on, and I loved it. So, yeah, it was kind of like the perfect fit. And that first year was awesome. But, yeah, and then some other people got involved for the next year, and it wasn't the equipment kind of went south, you know, and then I wasn't really stoked on it the second year.
And didn't they eventually put in a rule about modified 2-strokes Americans couldn't ride, or no, Americans couldn't even ride 2-strokes eventually. Yeah,
there was. I was actually fine with that though. Stock at that time, I think still a KTM 250 2-stroke, a stock bike, it's plenty fast enough. They're reliable and they're really, really good. My bike at home was always bone stock. I never did anything to it. So that rule didn't even affect me. I was actually fine with that. But the team, they wouldn't listen. They kept trying, because you were allowed to do like a few tweaks here and there. And the bike I was riding at home was bone stock. Thing was fine. Never had a problem with it. And dude, they kept messing with it. And it made it worse. It was so bad and actually quite dangerous because it was blowing up so much. So yeah, I just finally parted ways because they wouldn't listen to me. I'm like, dude, just get a bike, literally roll it from the showroom floor to the starting gate, and I'll be fine.
Is that where there's like the string of DNF on the old CMRC page?
It was insane. It was absolutely insane. Even the motos I didn't DNF, like, dude, the carb had.
Did you get a podium though, or were you just get like a shit ton of fourts?
No, in 14 I got a bunch of fourts, but in 15 though. Dude, even the motos I finished, the bike it was bogging and it was so bad. Like you'd be going the face of the jump and you didn't know the thing was in a bog, and
that's terrifying.
So dangerous. And then I'd come home during the week and ride a stock bike and be fine. Dude, be absolutely fine. I'd do 30-minute motos all week, not an issue. And then it starts hurting your confidence. So then you go to the races, no confidence, and it was terrible. So I'd either DNF or get like an 8th or a 9th because I was like scared to ride the thing. So
now you ride road bikes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm addicted, dude. I'm fully addicted, man. Fully addicted.
So what goes into like an everyday, like you guys wake up and put a cycle right away and then ride, or how does it go with you guys?
It varies. So in the off season, a lot of the cycles we do before the guys ride dirt bikes, that mostly happens in the off season. Obviously during the whole quarantine time, we had kind of really a 2-week period or more than a 2-week period where we didn't even know what was going to happen. So we kind of mellowed out and took a break at first. And then when we got back into it, we were doing a lot of extra cardio and stuff just because the guys didn't have to be fresh for Saturday. But now, like, we're so close to going racing, like, no, the training's actually really mellowed out. It's really just riding. You guys rode outdoors for a long time and then switched back over to Supercross. Obviously, riding Supercross in May it's way different because we never ride Supercross this time of year. So when it's this much hotter outside, your heart rate's already higher on a Supercross track anyway. So you add the heat into it. The workload is much bigger on the guys. So
I imagine you're probably fighting that way worse now too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's way more factors than we ever have to deal with during normal Supercross season. But training hasn't been that gnarly. It really hasn't. It's been just laps, a lot of laps. Obviously, the East Coast guys race first. So Pierce he's got 2.5 extra weeks Supercross prep than Brandon and Derek do, just because we had heard a while back East would race first. So he got on a Supercross track way early. But obviously that's going to even out because he actually leaves tomorrow to head up there, where the West Coast guys we still have another 2 full weeks of just practice. So, but yeah, right now, even honestly, the whole month of May, training hasn't been that gnarly. It's just been more riding than anything.
Get back in the swing of things.
Yeah.
So you're talking about the heat and the altitude. Is there anything you can do to prepare guys for that?
I mean, the heat, we've been in it, whether it's in obviously Florida, it's different because it's really humid. So most of us have been in Florida, so the heat shouldn't be an issue. But even out here in California, it's that really dry heat. It's been upward, it's in the 90s every day. So heat shouldn't be a factor. Altitude, Yeah, that's a much bigger, I don't want to say issue because everyone's got to deal with it, but much bigger factor in my opinion. Normally, for the only other race in recent memory I can think of where we deal with this is Colorado National every year. But normally that's not an issue because it's just one day. So with altitude, you either have to be there. If you're wanting to prepare for one day, you either have to be there way ahead or very, very last minute. So the guys that fly in Thursday, that's kind of like worst case scenario. So normally for Colorado, we fly in, or I have the guys flying as late as they possibly can on Friday. We race, we leave, no big deal. This is an entirely different deal because we're there for 3 weeks. Honestly, it's besides a little extra salt here and there, just for hydration, nothing really that you can do. Everyone's kind of going to be on a level playing field. That's going to be interesting to see how it affects guys. I know Pierce is actually from Salt Lake, so he shouldn't really have an issue. The other guys, I guess I'll have to wait and see. Not really sure what else to do, like I said, besides some extra salt here and there to prepare. But, everyone's on a level playing field, so it should be interesting.
We'd like to thank Seth Rarick for coming on the podcast. Hopefully we'll catch up with him a few times throughout this 3-week period of racing. Now switching gears to a rider's perspective, we caught up with Star Yamaha's Shane McElrath on Memorial Day weekend before he left for Salt Lake City, Utah.
Either yesterday or the day before, everything was kind of allowed to open back up. So today, my wife and I went to a local coffee shop that we like to go to that's been closed, and they opened up their dining room now, like limited seating, but we went down there, did some morning reading, had some coffee, and got to sit down inside for the first time in a while, so it was cool.
It's nice to have a little bit of normalcy return to your life, I'm sure.
It is, yeah. It's really kind of went by pretty quick. I mean, now just thinking like we raced Daytona over 2 months now, I think, ago. So to think like, man, we've been doing this for 2 months. I mean, for us, we've been so busy kind of doing what we always do. I mean, training and everything that keeps us busy. So to think that it's already been 2 months is pretty wild.
So that kind of leads me into my first question is, were you able to turn off the championship? Like, I imagine somebody at your level who's like a perennial title contender, that it's pretty intense throughout the season, week to week training. I imagine you'd like to keep the intensity up. Did you get to just kind of chill out and relax, or was it still like DEFCON for championship mode?
Yeah, honestly, it was kind of weird. So at first it was like Indy's canceled. Then I think, we were supposed to have one more race after that before like we had a break or something. And it was like, okay, Indy's canceled down the road, like Seattle and some of the West Coast ones were canceled, but it's like, well, shoot, now what do we do? And over the weekend of Indy was when things really, I guess, came out in the open about this is going to be here a while. So with that, it was like, okay, well, outdoors is still a ways away, and it's still pretty much set plan wise. So we just kind of all agreed, like, let's start riding outdoors. And at that point, it was like, okay, well, Supercross, we don't know what's going to happen with Supercross, so let's just start on outdoors. And for myself, just getting on the Yamaha, I only rode the bike about 2 weeks on outdoors before I went to Supercross. So coming into outdoors as it was, we were going to be a little behind just time-wise. So it really helped us out with spending some time on outdoors and getting the bike out in more, just getting more comfortable on it. That's really the big thing.
Have you changed it a lot? Like in this break, is it sort of like another pre-season, pre-A1? Is that like how you guys are looking at it? Or is it kind of continuation of the settings you had before the break?
It is kind of like a preseason time right now. I mean, more so for like training wise, but bike setup wise, we really made a lot of progress over the first 4 rounds of the East Coast Supercross. I mean, coming in, like my bike was really good at the test track here in California. It was like, dude, this thing handles good. It rides good. Like it's solid. Well, Tampa was kind of a harder base. Like it wasn't that rough and the track didn't break down that much. So it was like, cool. The bike worked really well there. Then we went to Arlington and pretty similar. The dirt was a little softer, but it wasn't like sticky dirt. It still had like some looseness to it. So the bike worked really good there. I still really enjoyed it. But with the Triple Crown there, the track did get pretty rough towards the end. And it's like, okay, like, well, the track was pretty rough. I struggled a little bit here, but I still really enjoyed it. And then Atlanta was a big struggle, mainly for myself, because it's like, okay, this is the first time I've ridden this bike on these conditions. And we had to change a lot. Like at Atlanta, every practice out, we were trying different stuff. And then even before the main, I went back to my original stuff just because it was comfortable, but it really didn't work well there with the track breaking down, the stickiness of the dirt, and just the way that the track was. So that really, I was pretty bummed out on that. But then going into Daytona, we made some changes to the gearing, some changes to the suspension that were way more race friendly than practice track friendly. And that really showed at Daytona. I was bummed to only get a 5th there, but that was the best riding that I had all year. It just sucked that I fell twice and ended up 5th. So
you were fast all day. I was at Daytona, so I definitely noticed the speed.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, like even though you're kind of dancing around bike setups, you still managed 3 podiums for like 1, 2, 3 in the first 3 rounds. So that's still pretty good.
Yeah, it's honestly really tough. Like as a racer, like each weekend, like you take what worked good, you take what you didn't like, and you try to apply that to the next weekend without like staying in that scenario. It's like, okay, well, we need to make these changes, but some of those changes might not be beneficial for the next race and the next track and the next dirt. So it's really tough. And for me, I had to be reminded, and I have to keep reminding myself, like, dude, this team, they've been doing this for a while. They've got good setups. They've been to all the tracks. And it's like, as a racer, we need to be comfortable to an extent. And it's like, I was having trouble just letting the team handle stuff. Cause it's like, I don't know how that'll be, but it's like, all right, guys, do what you think is good. And it's like, just let me ride it. Cause that's something that I struggle with. So it's like, I need to be able to rely on the team more because they have a lot of wisdom and experience to offer. But as a racer, it's like kind of what the racers say is what they get, which is good, but it can also be bad. And so that's where, for me, I need to let the team really voice everything that they feel like they need to voice. And if they need me to try something, then I need to be open to at least just try it, because it's tough. Like you want to go out and give it your best shot every time. But if you're not comfortable or not knowing what the bike's going to do, it's really hard to do that.
Well, dude, how many years did you spend riding for Troy Lee KTM? Like, it's going to take a couple races to get acclimated, I would think, to a new team. So is that a fair thing to say?
Yeah, no, it's, I mean, as I was coming up the ranks, like, on the TLD team, our bike was really the same for 3 or 4 years. So it's like, my bike setup was pretty good. It was more of like me as a racer. I'm young. I need to gain experience. I need to learn how to ride the bike. I need to learn how to really get used to and adapt to different situations. And so I think that was really good for me, but that also kind of put me in some bad habits to like, oh, don't change anything, don't do this, don't do that, because ultimately I would kind of put the pressure on myself. Like, okay, well, maybe it was the bike that didn't do something right, but I would just kind of take the blame for it. Like, no, just leave it. It's me. Well, now it's kind of going into that bad side where I'm used to having my bike the same all the time, that it's like, even if it needs to be changed, like, don't change it. So I've kind of realized that and noticed like, okay, I need help. Like, there's times where I can take the blame and I'm willing to, but then there's times where, well, really all the time the bike can progress, and I need to be willing to let the team try to experiment different things that they think is going to help out, because I don't know much about it, but I think it's not fair to them if I shut it down. Like, no, I don't want to try that. So it's something I've really been working on, but
definitely got to have that trust for sure with the team.
Yeah, it's hard.
How's you're training with Swanee now? So who's in like your everyday training group, or who you been training with?
Yeah, so I'm working with Gareth Swanepoel now, and we have here in California right now, we have Colt Nichols, Justin Cooper. We have our amateurs like from the start team, Jarrett Fry, Matt LeBlanc, and Nick Romano. And Malcolm Stewart trains with us. He's here right now. And also Aaron Plessinger, but he's been in Florida for the last couple of weeks. But it's honestly, it's really good. I mean, I've raced these guys for the last couple of years, and even Colt, I grew up racing against in the amateurs. So now being able to work alongside them, and really from an outsider before I came to this team, it's like, dude, what those guys do is different in some ways, but what they do is good. And so now getting to be involved in the whole program and getting to be alongside those guys and pushing each other at the test track, that's really helped me be open to some of those areas of change and some of those areas of, okay, well, I'm just going to have to deal with this because these guys are going fast and they're making it work. So now I have to make it work or be willing to try something different because I need to go faster. I need to be better. So it's been a big growing experience for myself, just in my career, getting really being open to different things.
How do you feel about 2 races a week? Is that gonna, like, what's your feelings on everything being in Salt Lake City, 2 races a week, the whole setup?
Honestly, I'm not really worried about it. I guess, I mean, in terms of how we ride during the week, yeah, race days are bigger loads. They're a little bit longer stretched throughout the day, but I mean, racing every 3 days, we're not going to be able to ride in between. So it's like, we'll race and then we'll technically have 2 full days to rest and then go race again. So that part, it's not going to be, I don't think it's really going to bother us that much. The altitude is the only thing that we're not 100% sure of. That, and also staying there for that long, it's like we're really never at elevation, and then boom, let's go stay here for 2.5 weeks and race all these races back to back. So it's like, it's not really that we're worried about it. It's just like we don't really know how it's going to go. So we're just going to do the best we can and really kind of take more measures to recover than to kind of try and hold back in any other areas. Yeah.
Well, I guess the saving grace is everyone's dealing with the same conditions. It's new for everybody. So I guess you gotta take it with that.
Yeah.
Are you staying there the full time? Because you have 3 and then 2 off and then the last 2. So will you be going back to Cali for those 2 weeks?
No, we'll actually be staying there. Our team rented like a big Airbnb for everybody to stay in. So that's really nice. And Colt and myself are taking our practice bikes because we have really like 9 days off of racing. And so that's a pretty long time to go without spending any time on the bike. So we're going to try to get a little bit of riding in if possible. But for us, if we were to leave Utah, we're supposed to get tested again once we come back into the state, and we still have to be there. If that was the case, we'd still have to be there 48 hours to get our test results. So it almost isn't really worth it. It's just like, we'll just deal with it and try to ride wherever that is, regardless of how much it is, instead of trying to go through the hassle of everything all over again. Yeah, it's especially with a lot of the rules and the guidelines and the restart plan, they're like, as a team at the race, we're supposed to only associate with our team and the team personnel on that team. So it's like,
oh, okay.
Yeah. So we're supposed to be very restricted at the races. And for us, like, it just makes sense for us all to just stay together too. I mean, it's a pretty big house. Not everybody's going to be there at the same time because of East and West until like the last week and a half or so. But it's, yeah, I mean, the teams, they decided to do that because it would be cheaper than getting hotels for everybody. So that, along with, okay, we're going to have to take some of our training equipment, our bicycles, our spin bikes, and all our gear for the racing for 2.5 weeks. And to do that in a hotel room we were going to have to figure out how to make that work efficiently. So the team just decided to do that. And I think it's going to be really good. I think that's really going to help things flow well.
It'll be like a little bonding exercise for you guys too, like those like retreats that corporations do. You guys will be able to be all best friends by the end of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So what's the strangest, we've kind of been talking about this a little bit. What's the strangest thing that happened to you during this entire quarantine COVID situation? Anything come to mind?
Well, I'm not really sure. But today I was actually trying to get a picture of this guy when we went in the coffee shop this morning, but him and his whole family were wearing masks, but he was also wearing like a neck cushion, like around. And I just thought it looked funny, but I was like, COVID also cracking necks out here.
Yeah.
But that's really, I mean, other than training, we ordered takeout food a few times, and I mean, just some people that were crazy about that. It's we really kept to ourselves for the most part, but to see that today, I wanted to get a picture, but I couldn't sneak one in.
I'm lucky. I'm out here on a farm, so it's easy to keep away from people. But I don't know how you guys were doing it, but we were like at first like disinfecting all the Amazon orders, and like it was just such a odd experience. Everything to do, it's like, who knows what's going to happen with everything. But yeah, the whole world went through something different, and everyone kind of came together. Now, the motocross community seems to be coming together, and you guys are finishing out the season, which is pretty awesome. It really didn't need to happen. Also, you will be one of the first sports to be back, essentially. How do you feel about that? And how do you feel about racing with no fans?
Yeah, I think for us as a sport, I think it's more of the job side than the show side that's more important. I mean, for us, there's a lot of people that this is our job, whether we're riders, team personnel, companies in the industry. It's like, once the races stopped, that's when paychecks either stopped or got cut. So it's like, the hard part is we have to adhere to these rules and regulations, which are really strict, but at the same time, it's like, as a racer personally, there's nothing else like going through my mind except racing. And so I think that's going to be tough for a lot of people. I think it's going to be tough just all around, but it's, I mean, for us as an industry, just speaking of job wise, it's like, this is something that we all need, as well as hopefully encourage other sports, encourage other businesses to like, oh, well, things are fine. Like, yeah, that you can do things, whether you take like precursive action or whatever, you can do things. And that's at the discretion of, well, we're not going to open, or we're going to open. It's like, you can make that decision, but I think it's going to be good for us and kind of setting a role model, I guess, a little bit of, hey, these people, they're willing to go back and do what they're supposed to do. And it's like, I'm in, so let's go.
Set the example for everybody else.
Yeah.
So typically you're a pretty good starter and you come out swinging from the start of the series. And like you said, this is kind of like going in day one again. So you feel like you're going to come out swinging, and have you changed anything to maybe come out a little less and then maintain a little better, or do you change anything like that, or not really?
For me, honestly, I'm in a better position than I was coming into the season, like just experience wise, like time on the bike setup, and just having really another block of training, fitness wise under my belt. Like with Swanee, it was a big change, physically for me that my body had to really adapt to. And going back to Daytona, it was like, that was my best race overall, like physically, mentally, bike setup, like everything was starting to come together. And the bummer part is my results kind of show the opposite, but like the work that we were putting in and the progress we were making was really encouraging and really exciting. And then to kind of get put on hold, it's like, shoot. But now it's like, okay, let's restart, but let's pick up where we left off and let's continue making that progress. Like results wise, I expect myself to win every time, but it's hard. Like you don't see people just dominating all the time. So it's, there's a lot of things that can happen, but we're working on eliminating everything that's not good, or maybe mistakes we made the first 4 rounds. It's like, let's clear everything up and let's focus on what we can control.
I read that you did a ton of preseason testing, really got comfortable with the team and everything. You guys have your track in California. I've never been to Salt Lake City. I know in California it's super hard pack. What's the difference in dirt? Can you transfer that over from the test track in SoCal over to Salt Lake City?
Yeah. So originally it was Salt Lake City they were originally going to try Phoenix. But if Phoenix didn't work out, then St. Louis was like a for sure backup plan, which those two dirts are completely different. Phoenix is the hardest dirt. St. Louis is probably one of the more sticky or looser dirts. Yeah. So then it went to Salt Lake and St. Louis. So for me, it's like we spend all our time here in California on these hardback tracks. And there's days where our track can be very good, really depending on the weather, how much water we get to put on it, how I guess hot the day gets, because once it warms up here in California, the track dries out so quick. So,
well, I've been to Milestone and seen the blue grooves. So, yeah.
And so
it happens. Yeah.
With our track now, honestly, St. Louis or Utah is a harder packed dirt, but it's also like kind of rocky. It's got a lot of little pebbles in it. Mm-hmm. So it's more of like the state fair track we have here. Okay. And I think for me, that's solid. That's exactly what we ride on. That's what we've been used to. And it's like, if it would have been St. Louis, it's like, okay, well, that's fine. We'll just have to get used to it. But I think really it's not going to be much different other than the altitude once we get there to show up to race.
Awesome. Well, I don't want to keep you too long. It's your Memorial Day weekend, and I really appreciate you joining us, man. Super solid of you. Hopefully we can talk again. Hopefully we can talk again sometime and maybe check in a couple weeks, see what's up. I don't know if you're down, but we'd love to have you back sometime.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, I'm down to do this whenever. I mean, this is I know what a lot of people are kind of resorting to now, and it's easy, it's convenient, and honestly, it's fun. Like phone interviews are like, oh, whatever. Like you can't, unless it's going into like a typed out article, that's really the best you can do. But now with video stuff, it's like, let's do video stuff. It's easy and it's cool. It's fun.
It's our only option right now since the border remains closed and motocross isn't an essential service. So
yes.
But thanks for coming on, Shane. We'll talk to you soon, man.
Yeah, man, kill it these next couple rounds. Good luck.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. This is cool.
That concludes this episode of the Moto Focus podcast by AUTOMOTOCO. For myself, Brad Nemeth, and my co-host, Tyler Rayner, thanks for joining us. We'll see you very soon.